A little girl was playing in the snow with her dog when they stumbled upon something chilling. A police car wrecked in the forest, its officer barely alive inside. What followed was a chain of events that exposed secrets, tested courage, and shook their entire town to its core. The forest was wrapped in silence, its trees heavy with snow that glittered beneath a pale winter sun. 8-year-old Emma trudged through the powder in her red coat, laughing as her loyal German shepherd, Max, bounded ahead, leaving trails of paw prints behind. For Emma, these walks were adventures, a world of magic hidden in the woods. She scooped snow into her mittens, shaping a clumsy ball before tossing it. Max leapt high, snapping it mid-air, sending flakes scattering around them. The girls' laughter echoed across the frozen trees, pure and carefree. But as they wandered deeper, the playfulness shifted. Emma noticed deep tire tracks cutting across the untouched snow, veering wildly off the road. They disappeared into the trees, leaving broken branches and silence in their wake. Max stopped suddenly, ears pricked, a low growl escaping his throat. Emma's smile faded. Something wasn't right in the woods that day. Emma followed the tire tracks cautiously, her breath fogging in the cold air. Max stayed close, his growl deepening with every step. The tracks ended abruptly in a clearing, and Emma froze. There, half buried in snow and leaning at a sharp angle, was a police car. Its windshield was shattered, the hood crumpled against a tree that Emma's heart pounded. She tugged Max's collar, whispering, "Stay back," but the shepherd pulled forward, barking furiously. As they drew closer, she saw movement inside. Through the cracked glass, the pale face of a police officer appeared, blood streaking his forehead, his body slumped against the seat. Emma gasped, pressing her mitten to her mouth. He was alive, but barely. His lips moved, forming words she couldn't hear. Max barked again, circling the car, claws scraping at the frozen door. For Emma, the snowy woods no longer felt magical. They had become terrifyingly real that Emma's small hands pressed against the icy window. "Sir? Can you hear me?" she cried, her voice trembling. The officer's eyes flickered open, but he didn't answer. His breathing was shallow, each exhale fogging the broken glass. She tugged at the door handle, but it was jammed tight. Panic surged through her. "Max, help," she pleaded. The shepherd barked and clawed at the door, his strength shaking the frame but not breaking it free. Emma fumbled for her pocket, pulling out her tiny cell phone. She dialed, but the screen flashed red, no signal. Her throat tightened. They were alone. Tears stung her eyes, but she refused to give up. "Stay awake. We'll get you out," she shouted at the officer, pounding on the window. He stirred, mumbling something she couldn't understand. Max suddenly sprinted to the road, barking into the distance as if calling for help. Emma stayed, pressing her mittened hands against the glass, fighting the fear rising inside her. She was just a little girl, but she knew she had to be brave. Emma jumped when she heard a faint groan from inside the car. The officer's head shifted slightly, his eyes blinking open through the haze of blood and snow. "Help?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. Emma leaned closer. "Don't move. We'll get you out," she said, her voice shaking but determined. The man's eyes darted weakly to hers. "Listen, this wasn't an accident." His words broke into coughs, flecks of blood staining his lips. "They wanted me gone." Emma's heart pounded. She didn't fully understand, but the warning chilled her. She looked at Max, who stood guard by the car, ears pricked, growl rumbling in his chest. The officer tried to reach for something on the seat, a torn folder, half buried under shards of glass. Papers spilled onto the snow through the broken window, marked with strange seals and notes. Emma gathered them quickly, not knowing what they meant, only that they were important. The officer's eyes closed again, his strength fading. The little girl realized this was bigger than just a crash. Emma clutched the scattered papers tightly, her breath quick and shallow. She turned toward Max, who barked once, sharp and commanding, before darting toward the tree line. "Wait, Max," she called, but the shepherd only paused long enough to look back at her, eyes blazing with urgency. Emma understood. He wanted her to follow. With one last glance at the officer, she whispered, "Hold on, we'll bring help," and ran after Max. The shepherd led her through the snow, weaving between trees, his instincts guiding him where her fear could not. Every so often, He stopped, sniffing the air, then surged forward with renewed determination. At last, they reached a narrow road. Max bounded into the open, barking furiously, his paws kicking up snow as headlights appeared in the distance. Emma waved desperately, clutching the folder to her chest. A truck screeched to a halt, the driver leaping out in shock at the sight of a frantic child and her dog. The first spark of hope lit the frozen night. Within the hour, flashing lights lit up the snowy forest. Paramedics lifted the wounded officer from the wreck, rushing him into an ambulance. Emma stood beside Max, clutching the folder she had rescued. Her cheeks were red from the cold, but her eyes were wide with determination. At the station, investigators opened the damp papers. Inside were files linking names, payments, and hidden dealings, proof of corruption within the very system meant to protect the town. Gasps filled the room as officials realized the officer hadn't crashed by accident. He had been silenced for uncovering the truth. Word spread quickly. Neighbors whispered in disbelief. Shopkeepers closed early, and fear rippled through the streets. The town that once felt safe was now shadowed by betrayal. But amid the shock, one thing was clear. Without Emma and Max, the evidence would have been lost, and the officer's warning buried with him. Days later, the hospital room was filled with quiet beeping machines and the faint scent of antiseptic. The officer, pale but alive, opened his eyes to see Emma and Max at his bedside. For a moment, he said nothing, just reached weakly to scratch behind the shepherd's ears. "You saved me," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "Both of you." News of their bravery swept through the town. Reporters gathered outside Emma's home, headlines praising the little girl and her dog who had uncovered corruption and saved a life. Neighbors who once saw her as just another child now called her a hero. At a small ceremony in the town hall, the mayor presented Emma with a medal far too big for her small hands. Max received a special collar engraved with the words, "Protector" and "Hero." The crowd erupted in applause, many with tears in their eyes. But for Emma, the true reward was simpler, knowing that she and Max had stood up when no one else could. Winter slowly gave way to spring, but the memory of that day lingered in every corner of the town. The officer often visited Emma's home, bringing flowers and gratitude that words could never fully express. Each time, Max bounded to greet him, tail wagging, eyes bright with recognition. Emma's parents watched proudly, realizing their daughter's courage and her dog's loyalty had changed lives. What began as a snowy adventure had revealed betrayal, saved a life, and reminded an entire town of the power of truth. In the end, Emma wasn't just a child, and Max wasn't just a pet. Together, they had become symbols of bravery and loyalty, because sometimes heroes don't wear uniforms. Sometimes they come with a child's heart and a dog's unshakable love. Months later, the snow had melted, but people in town still spoke of the day a little girl and her dog uncovered the truth. The crash site had become a quiet memorial, where neighbors left flowers not only for the officer who had survived, but also in honor of courage itself. Emma often walked past the spot with Max. She would stop, pat his head, and whisper, "We did it, buddy." The shepherd always wagged his tail, leaning against her as if he understood every word. Schools told the story to their students, teaching them that bravery can come from the smallest among us. For Emma, it wasn't about medals or ceremonies. It was about standing up when someone needed her most. And for the town, it was about remembering that loyalty and love can uncover truths buried in silence. The snow may have melted, but the lesson it left behind would never fade.